What if every step you took in a video game cost you a step in real life? What if every time you had your character swing a weapon, you had to move that weapon's weight? What if you were crazy enough to try and beat a game like Bloodborne, as though you actually put in your character's effort? So today, I'm going to answer the question, can I lift my way through Bloodborne? A lot to cover, and statistically I've already lost 30% of you, so without further ado, here are the specifics. As mentioned, every step I take in-game has to be taken in real life, and in addition to this, every use of the dodge button will cost 10 steps. I would make a ruling for Quicksilver bullets, but I won't be using them long enough to matter, and I don't think YouTube would have been too happy with me proving that I can use a firearm. Every time I swing my weapon, it will cost me the weapon's weight in pounds in real life. So as I've started with the saw cleaver, every time that I swing the weapon, it will cost me 17 pounds. Because Bloodborne doesn't have weights for weapons in the game, I've done some calculating of my own based on the size of the weapon in-game to the player, as well as some vague commentary from the Man-at-Arms video where they made a modified version of the saw cleaver in real life, but they never actually outright say how much the finished product weighs. Either way, I won't have this weapon for too long. In addition to the steps and the weapon use, dying will cost me 1,000 pounds every time I go down. And the biggest of all, every single blood echo that I want to use, I have to lift for. Meaning every level, shot purchase, and weapon upgrade will contribute to the count, and I've also added an outright 10,000 pound charge for every upgrade of any weapon's level. I had initially considered having a counter going throughout the entire run, but honestly, by the end of counting everything, I was way over it. I will be posting a completely accurate count at the end of the video. And also, I just want the total reveal at the end to be a surprise. So I'll just show the steps and swings a few times throughout to show you how it's progressing. The death count will make an appearance as needed. All good? Everybody on the same page? Wonderful. So now that I've defeated the Cleric Beast, I should be getting my new weapon. But instead, I've forgotten that it's available, and I continue on to Father Gascoigne. With some sidearm assistance, the Father goes down fairly quickly, which marks not only the first required boss, but the end of my time with the Saw Cleaver, as well as my ability to parry, as I finally purchase my weapon that I'm using for the rest of the run, the Kirkhammer. I've never used the Kirkhammer before, but every run of Bloodborne I've ever completed up to this point has relied heavily, if not entirely, on the Hunter pistol, so this is going to be an interesting shift in playstyle. But the biggest reason that I selected the Kirkhammer is the weight. It will cost me 100 pounds per swing to use. And even before that, I'm already sitting at 63,683 pounds to lift. So how exactly am I going to be doing the actual challenge? Well, though it might have been a little obvious, I'll be lifting weights. I've linked the information of every workout that I did for the challenge, complete with each workout specific weights and set counts, in the description of the video, but I didn't include the total. So unless you feel like doing a bunch of math to spite me, stick around to see just how much I had to lift to make this run possible. With the Kirkhammer acquired, I started to navigate the Cathedral Ward, finding more upgrade materials, and continuing to add to my weight total before leveling my Kirkhammer to +2. I unlock Old Yarnum, and I throw myself at Jura a few times before realizing that I should be doing it a little more literally. I clear the area a bit and purchase the third Kirkhammer upgrade, as well as the Hunter Badge for easier access to the Cathedral, but I don't think I ever actually use it. Just blood echoes spent for the sake of increasing the total amount to lift, I guess. Whoops. But with everything set, it's time to face off against the Bloodstarved Beast in the first boss fight with my new weapon. While I'm not used to the fighting style required for a weapon that restricts the use of the Hunter pistol, the Bloodstarved Beast is an excellent boss to practice on, as it takes good damage even with my strength stat and weapon level being so low, while also presenting a fun fight throughout, narrowly missing out on the toxic proc on the beast's third phase. And now with the Bloodstarved Beast taken care of, so too is my path down Easy Street. With the Kirkhammer being my weapon choice, it's now time to face a very unfortunate reality. Blunt damage is pretty much useless in the world of Bloodborne. And going forward, I'm going to need my weapon at the highest available upgrade, and my stats at in-game strength just to get this bad boy to perform at a fraction of the efficiency of, say, the Saw Cleaver. But trust me, I don't make that decision before doing my fair share of attempts against both Dark Beast Parl and Vicar Amelia. But with a short 300 or so swing farm break, it's back to Amelia, where I can see that those levels I put into strength are well worth it, even if it wasn't actually much of a break. Just getting myself this far has put me well past 250,000 pounds to lift, and the game's hardest bosses are still to come. But now that the night's been unveiled, it's time to head right back to Yahar Ghul to face off once more against Parl. With some fancy footwork, I'm able to break Parl's kneecaps and incapacitate the beast in order to put the big mistake down. With Amelia and Parl taken care of, I open the way to the Forbidden Woods and rush through to grab the second shortcut before facing off against the Shadows of Yharnam. They humble me pretty quickly, so I run through again and grab the first shortcut, but not before showing this beast the true strategy of men, cowering in an invincible doorway. Now where was I? I learned to kite the sword shadows around so I can hit the Pyromancer with the running heavy, and after a few tries, the strategy pays off. I make my way through Briggenworth, where I get schooled a bit by Yuri, before remembering that it's not that hard to put down characters wearing blindfolds. Eye patches are another story. You see a dude with one eye covered and you just keep walking. I make my way to the pocket dimension of Rom's Lake, where after a quick failed attempt, I decide to make a detour, making my way to the Witches of Himwick, even managing not to die. Though I do end up using my Kirk hammer to a ridiculous degree looking back on it now. This whole editing process has been a series of me yelling at myself like, what do you think you're doing? Didn't you know the hole that you were digging for yourself? With that detour taken, I now have access to the runes, but since I've already started unlocking upgrades, I figure it's time to add some extra difficulty to my strange run. I finally decide to do something about my abysmal HP stat, though I may come to regret it in the long run. Originally, I was just going to level up my strength stat, as from this point, the levels become incredibly costly, but if I keep dying, the combination of death tolls and Kirkhammer swings could dwarf how much I'd have spent in the first place, and then I would still end up leveling anyways. So it's a quick trip to everybody's favorite farming dungeon before I spend over 350,000 blood echoes to increase my survivability, almost doubling my total in this run so far. We're starting to get to some pretty big numbers here. But with that adjustment, I'm able to survive Rom's AoE attack, and after two, learning experiences, I'm able to defeat the vacant-minded Rom, and the moon gets pretty angry about it. Now that Rom's taken care of, I'm transported to the now uncloaked Yahar Ghul's village, where it's time for another death montage. Oh, an upgrade. This total is starting to look pretty heavy, and I get the feeling it's only going to get worse. But after clearing the path for repeat attempts on the boss, I head into the fight against the One Reborn, who might have not been worth the path cleanup, as I definitely died more trying to tidy up Yahar Ghul than I did taking out the One Reborn. But now it's time for Sir Time Waster himself. I actually get invaded in the Nightmare, proving that Bloodborne stands will do literally anything to try to taste a hint of PvP, even invading down at level 50. I get invaded by this person a few times during my time in the Nightmare, but I never see them. With the shortcuts to the boss room unlocked, it just takes patience to take Miklaj down and make him nothing more than a figment of my own nightmare once again. With the final area of the Nightmare unlocked, I'm able to grab enough bloodstone chunks to get the Kirkhammer to +9. The run to Murgo's Wet Nurse also utilizes that same handy elevator point, so after the mulligan of the first attempt, I take out the Guardian of the Third of the Umbilical Cord, and with that, it's time for some main game cleanup before the DLC. Squish. Amygdala goes down in a single try, proving once again that it's the run to the boss room that provides the challenge for this area. And after defeating said boss, I make the rush to Iosefka's clinic, where I can find the third and final umbilical cord before finally upgrading the Kirkhammer to its final +10 state. Finally. From here, I head up to the Upper Cathedral Ward and start cleanup on the Celestial Emissaries. Oh god, this is not a club I want to be a part of. After the whoopsie daisies, the emissaries go down, and it's time for my first fight with the Higher Great One. Abriatus isn't the hardest FromSoft boss, but any enemy capable of a powerful AoE attack is a pain in the butt in Bloodborne. After 2 attempts to get used to the fight, the Daughter of the Cosmos goes down on the 3rd try, and now, it's time to face the Hunter's Nightmare. For anybody wanting a boss breakdown, I'll have one at the end going over how many pounds it took to take out each one, but for now, just know that once you remove the swings of the Kirkhammer during traversal and setup, the 5 DLC bosses took almost as many swings as the rest of the bosses in the game combined. That being said, the first thing is first. The boss who makes this entire DLC a skill check. Ludwig the Accursed. With erratic movements and absolutely massive amounts of damage per swing, Ludwig is a glimpse of what's to come in this DLC, and an absolute brawl, even with the beast's second phase after he regains his sanity. After several tries and hundreds of swings, Ludwig goes down, and I celebrate with some horsing around. But that's pretty much the end of the fun and games, because at this point in the run, even with only 7 bosses left, I've got the biggest challenge ahead, and I already sit well over 1 million pounds total. What's worse, I have to increase that number even further because I'm out of blood vials, and I'm gonna need them. But with the research hall navigated and the living failures, son of a... Alright, and the living failure, son of a... Okay, some patience, and the living failures also go down with little effort. My eyes just got bigger than my health bar for a minute there. Now that the path to the clock tower is open, I awaken Lady Maria and get ready for a bloodbath. Lady Maria's fight is one of my all-time favorites. Her reason for being here in the nightmare, as well as why she feels she has to defend the path to the fishing hamlet that lies beyond, it really sells that she isn't just fighting us to defend herself or for the sake of relieving us of our curiosity like she claims, but to atone for the sins of her past. I lay Lady Maria to rest, and hopefully, her deepest regret will follow shortly after her. I traverse the fishing hamlet, unlocking the shortcuts along the way, and now, the big one. The Orphan of Kos, the single greatest and most pitiable boss of Bloodborne. This was definitely a relearn from the ground up type of fight without the Hunter's Pistol, and at the end of it all, the Orphan stands at the top when it comes to both deaths and swings per boss. Unfortunately, I can't go straight from that amazing and harrowing boss fight to the culmination of the story, as I totally forgot about Martyr Ligarius. I make my way through Cainhurst Castle, and even more unfortunately, the recording crashes like 5 feet from the boss door after I made it the entire way through the area. Like, no joke, it cuts out right here, and he's like 30 feet away. So, you don't get the minute of footage where I'm beating the boss silly with a slab while he flails helplessly in the corner, though I do immediately check the recording after and resume the failed capture, so you can see me finding this neat crown, but just imagine that there's like a guy jumping up and down into hammer swings about right here, over and over. Now that everything else has been taken care of, this is it. It's time for the night to come to an end. But I won't submit to Gurman and take the easy way out. He's gotten off too easy with his hunter's dream all these years. It's time he got to visit the nightmare himself. After a few tries, I'm able to take down the first hunter, and the moon presence descends before me. Thanks to my yummy protein snacks earlier, my tummy is full, so I have the willpower to resist the Great One. But as the battle begins, I only have 7 blood vials left. Here we go. With the battle won, I ascend to a higher level of being. Hashtag Squid Game. Alright, but now for the real question. How much is this going to cost me? Let's break it down. As for the bosses, this is the ranking for how many swings every boss took, as well as how much weight that added up to, which might have only been necessary for Gascoigne and Cleric Beast, but my OCD demanded consistency. Yes, I made Gurman and the Moon Presence one boss on the chart, as after much consideration, I felt like it. So even before getting the weapon's total swings or any other modifiers, my current weight total for the main game bosses sits at 123,086 pounds, while the DLC bosses weigh in at 85,500 pounds. The last thing to go over before adding all those weight modifiers, my total number of steps throughout the run, including all of my dashes, 141,775, with a surprise metric to throw in, my total number of accidental gestures throughout the run, which was 13, adding 130,000 steps to the total for 271,775 steps. Alright, now for the weight. The first weight modifier, upgrades. Throughout the run, I bought a total of 15 weapon upgrades, for whatever reason. I only needed the 12 that I actually used. I'm not sure why I did that. 15 upgrades cost like 150,000 pounds. So, an extra 30,000 for nothing there. The second modifier, my total deaths. Sitting at 123, looking as easy as ABC, not looking as easy as the 123,000 pounds that they're adding to that total. And the last modifier outside of how much was outright spent, just how many times did I swing both the saw blade and the Kirkhammer? The easier to accomplish of the two, with each swing coming in at that 17 pounds, with a total of 1,099 swings, the saw cleaver weighs in for 18,683 pounds. Not bad, nothing to sneeze at, unless you're comparing it to this one. At 100 pounds per swing, the Kirkhammer's total at the end of the run finished at 3,983 swings, costing me 398,300 pounds. So, adding up everything so far, we've got 690,513 pounds to lift. So the only factor left. Just how many blood echoes did I have to spend in this run? With all of my levels and blood vials purchased, I ended up spending 1,138,825 blood echoes, bringing my total number for the entirety of Bloodborne to 1,829,338 pounds, a feat that took me 4 months of lifting to accomplish. Thank you so much for watching my first ever lift through. I posted all of the workouts and weight information and a doc link in the video description as well as in the comments below. And if you're still here, thank you so much for supporting my content. I can't wait to get another run out for you guys, hopefully sometime soon. But for now, feel free to comment a game that you'd like to see a lift through of down below. Alright, that's all I've got for you today. This is Swolbi on Kenobi, signing off.